KLCS-58. This is the instructional television station for all of Southern California. KLCS Los Angeles, where we believe television is for learning.
Welcome to Lesson 33 on Design for Driving. In this lesson, we are going to be discussing personalities and emotions. Now, let's take a look at each of these individually. Personality is something that we develop. We have an outgoing personality. We have a friendly personality. Maybe we are a little bit withdrawn. We stay within ourselves. This is a personality, something that's developed over a period of time and normally stays with us. Emotions, on the other hand, are those things that come up at a particular time. For example, maybe we're excited, terribly excited, and so what do? We start laughing and we start cheering and things like this. Or perhaps we're sad and we start crying. Or maybe we're somewhat angry and we flare out or we strike out at someone. This is what we're really speaking of when we talk about personalities and emotions. So, Linda, you're going to now speak to us about some of these different types of personalities, aren't you?
Right. We have about 6 different types of personalities we want to talk about today. Now, remember, when we're talking about personalities, we're talking about your driving personality. You're walking down the street and you may have one type of personality, but we often find not often, but some people get behind the wheel and they have a completely different driving personality. And we'll take a look at some of these particular types. The first one is a road hog, also known as a space grabber sometimes, because this is one of the things they often do. We call this person a road hog because they think that they own the road and that it belongs totally to them once they get behind the wheel. And they forget that the public roads belong to everybody. And these are the types of people who are space grabbers. They're constantly going in and out, making unsafe lane changes. They think that they have the right-of-way at every intersection and in every particular situation, that it's their turn and they should go first before anyone else. So this is the type of person we call a road hog, and you saw the cartoon there called a grabber. Okay, another type of personality that we often see behind the wheel is the show-off. Now, a lot of times, especially teenagers are known for being show-off, and I hate to say it, guys, but you especially are known for being this type of a personality, the show-off. And a lot of times, maybe when you're taking a gal out on a date, you try to be a show-off. Well, this is a particular type of personality, and I've often had girls who have come to me and said, my boyfriend is just, he's a different person behind the wheel, and he tries to show off quite a bit. This is the type of person who feels that once they get behind the wheel, they just have to prove to everybody that they're a race car driver. Well, you'll find that even race car drivers don't try and show off out on the public roads. They know that race car driving is for the racetrack itself and not for the everyday roads that we drive on. So we have 2 types of personalities here. We have the road hog and we have the show-off. And these are probably the 2 most common personalities that we do see out on the road. So remember that when you're behind the wheel, try and be aware that you will not be a show-off and that you will not be a road hog, because oftentimes these driving personalities affect how we actually do end up acting in our everyday life, and I'm sure most of you would not want to be a road hog or a show-off. Howard, what are some other types of personalities?
All right, Linda. One of the other types of personalities that we oftentimes deal with is the person who is nervous. And sometimes they may be referred to as a nervous Nelly. And so as not to show partiality, we may also refer to them as a nervous Nelson. That we see here, the nervous Nelly. Now, this particular type of individual is not necessarily nervous because of circumstances. They may be, but oftentimes they get behind the wheel of a car and they have a real fear of driving. And once this fear has taken over, they lose concentration, and so they become nervous. They're constantly shifting around, constantly worrying, and what they are doing is they're spending more time concentrating on their nervous reactions than they are concentrating on the driving task. Another type of personality that we oftentimes see is the hothead, and we might call this person Super Mouse. And the Super Mouse character, or the hothead type of person, is often infuriated over just minor things. You see the cartoon there, and it really is an excellent example. This person may be infuriated over anything, perhaps waiting for traffic that is stopped. The person just starts boiling, and pretty soon what they're doing is they're constantly honking the horn, and they're antagonizing other drivers. This person is the hothead. And he certainly isn't the type of person that you want to be. You wouldn't want to exhibit the personalities of either a nervous Nelly or a nervous Nelson. And, of course, certainly you wouldn't want to be the hothead. Remember that one way we have of controlling these things is to consider the other driver and consider how we would feel if we were in the place of the other driver and the nervous Nelson or the nervous Nelly or the hothead, what we call Super Mouse, were behind us and we're pulling that same type of a thing. So really, let's consider the other driver as well as ourselves. Linda, we have some other types of personalities to talk about.
Right. Another type of personality is the driver who is always right. And I'm sure we've all encountered someone like this. The person who is always right believes that he never makes a mistake out on the road. He gets a ticket for speeding. He wasn't at fault. He wasn't speeding. Well, the policeman was at fault. Or this is the type of person who gets into an accident, and of course it's always the other guy's fault. He never takes any of the blame for himself. So this is the person who is always right, and we all do make mistakes out on the road, even Howard and I, and we teach driver education. But everybody makes mistakes out on the roads, and we have to be able to be mature enough to accept the responsibility for those mistakes. So I hope none of you will ever end up being the driver who is always right. And the last type of personality we want to talk about is a good driver. And most of the time, all of us are good drivers. Occasionally, we will all display some of the other types of personalities that we've talked about. But in general, most of us are good drivers, and we hope that you will all be aware that with Arthur Average here, again, you can see the halo over him, but there's also that little bit of devil in all of us, and this little bit of devil is what often makes us make our mistakes. But we have to be aware that we all do make mistakes out on the road, but you want to be mature enough to accept responsibility for those mistakes. If you are speeding and you get a ticket, you are speeding, and it's your responsibility to accept the consequences of violating the law. Okay, we've looked at 6 different types, actually 5 different types of personalities, plus a good driver personality, which all of us hopefully have and that you will develop as you become more experienced. Now let's take a look at emotions and how they affect driving. Howard?
All right, Linda. It's kind of interesting to note that those cartoons really do exhibit oftentimes the personalities that we see on the road. So let's take a look at emotions. Remember at the beginning of this lesson, I defined emotions for you as something that are temporary, something that are brought about normally by conditions or circumstances. So we'll start out with anger. And anger is something that, this is a type of emotion that may be stimulated due to any number of things. Maybe we had received a bad grade on a test. Perhaps we're just about getting ready to leave for school, and maybe we are involved in an argument with a friend, or perhaps an argument with our girlfriend, or even with our parents. So we exhibit this anger, and we, of course, demonstrate our anger by doing foolish things behind the wheel of a car. We pound on the steering wheel and things like this. Fear is also another emotion with which we have to deal. Perhaps we are fearful of taking a test, maybe the anxiety that we are facing and sitting for a test to get into college, or perhaps just a test in our own driver education classroom. This will certainly have a definite impact on how we operate behind the wheel of a car. Worry, well, how do we differentiate worry from fear? Well, fear is something that is normally brought upon us by something that we're not familiar with. Worry is something that we concentrate on. We focus our mind, and we spend our time worrying about a particular thing. We worry about, are we going to make the team? Are we going to make drill team? Are we going to make a certain thing? So worry is tension that we build up within ourselves, and oftentimes, if we were just not to concentrate or focus on it, we would find that the worry might disappear, and we would be a much better person, and also a far better driver behind the wheel of the car. Frustration is another of these emotions that is brought about when maybe you want something so badly and yet you can't have it. You are striving for that A on that test, or perhaps you're striving for the perfect score when you go down to the Department of Motor Vehicles and taking your driving test, and you just can't get it. That may frustrate you. This certainly causes interference with the driver behind the wheel of a car. Another thing, excitement or happiness. Maybe you just made the team. Maybe you just got that perfect score that you've been looking for. Maybe you got the date with the person you've been seeking a date with for so long. This type of thing can take your mind off the driving task, and you spend the time concentrating on your excitement or your happiness. Sadness. You just perhaps didn't do as well on the test as you were expected, and you know you're going to be grounded this particular weekend. Well, this is something that you've got to understand, that these types of emotions we cannot allow them to interfere with our driving. And finally, love. Something that we've all experienced, whether it be love for a girlfriend or a boyfriend, perhaps love for an animal, maybe, or love for our parents. We cannot allow these things to interfere with our driving. Once we do, we lose sight of the driving task, and in losing sight of the driving task, we have a real problem. Now, we're going to take a look at a film which talks about personalities and emotions, and I think we'll find that it's really very good.
When you look at traffic from up here, you can really see the congestion. Cars, trucks, buses, even pedestrians come from every direction. Each driver finds himself in an ever-changing variety of situations, like yield, merge, pass, and stop. Every day, more and more cars add to this congestion and add to the chances for accidents. But are they really accidents? And are they really caused by chance? Too often, drivers blame chance or traffic congestion for their accidents, when actually they should realize that their own attitudes and emotions have a profound effect on their driving. Each of us carries around a unique set of mental traits, a set of tendencies and characteristics that most of us consider part of our personality. And those traits, some long-lasting, others short-term, can interfere with good driving performance. A case in point is Larry here.
Larry, is it okay if I put a record on?
He always gets wrapped up in what he's doing. You could call this one of Larry's more permanent personality traits. Actually, he's not much different from most of us, if you think about it. Haven't you ever missed what was going on around you because you were concentrating on something else? Larry's ability to concentrate has a positive effect on his reading. Imagine if he concentrates on driving like he does on reading. It just might make him a better driver.
Hello? Gail? Yeah, she's here. Sure, just a minute. Gail, phone's for you.
But suppose Larry was driving and concentrating on something else.
I'm going over to the library. See ya.
Okay. Hello? Yeah, that's really nice. Really nice.
Other important, long-lasting personal characteristics, ones that can greatly affect the way we perform, are attitudes.
Yeah, it's really nice. I like it a lot.
Yeah, these over here, really nice.
Yeah, that's nice too. Hey, Liz, are you ready for a break? There's a snack bar over there. Oh, I really need a cup of coffee and a place to sit down for a while.
Isn't this a fabulous gallery?
Yeah, it really is.
Are we going to get to the Lindgren Gallery today? That's where that sculpture is I'd like to see.
Yeah, me too. Hey, is my cigarette bothering you?
No, I was just noticing the sign.
Relax. What difference does it make? I wouldn't worry about it. There's nobody around to give us any trouble.
I guess you're right. What's it going to hurt?
You sure you want to see that sculpture?
Oh, just a...
Some people are more willing than others to take a certain amount of risk, to stretch rules they don't see the need for. This is a negative attitude, and its effects can easily be negative too. For example, what negative effects could result from a driver's ignoring a traffic sign just because there's no apparent reason to obey it?
Let's go. I'll drink this on the way.
Besides long-lasting mental traits like concentration and attitudes, as you've already seen, short-term traits frequently play an important part in determining your momentary state of mind.
Come on, Chet. I guarantee this will snap you out of it.
And more importantly, the way you perform.
What a day.
Your passing mood, for instance, may limit your ability to perform skillfully.
Okay, so Jenkins didn't like your term paper. So imagine that's Jenkins' head.
Do you have any idea how much research I put into that thing? Not to mention all the rewriting.
So take old Jenkins' head and smash it over here.
Temporary states of mind, like moods, can be especially dangerous. Since you don't have them all the time, you may not be prepared to deal with them. Suppose that Chet were driving a car right now. Think about what could happen. A temporary factor in just about everyone's mental makeup is their reaction to stress.
Hello?
Hi.
Yeah, hi, Marge. I thought it would be you.
Did you finish your paper?
Yeah, I just finished typing the last word.
Yikes. How long is it?
15 pages, with footnotes. How long's yours?
10 pages. I hope it's okay.
Oh, 10 pages will be fine. Hey, what time is it?
Almost 2.
Wow, that just leaves me enough time to drive to class.
You have to put it together?
Yeah, I do. Look, I'll see you later.
Okay. Good luck.
Thanks. Bye. Now, don't tear. I don't have time for you to tear. Punch. Oh, where are
Pat has too much on her mind. In her present mood, she's trying hard, but she'll be more likely than usual to make mistakes, even behind the wheel. A sudden outburst of emotion, losing your temper, for instance, could also increase the chances of your making a mistake.
Have you finished that letter yet, Paula?
Just one more minute, Mr. Phillips.
Well, please hurry. I'm not in.
Mr. Phillips' office, may I help you?
Yes, is he in?
He's in a meeting right now.
This is the second time I've called.
Well, may I tell him who's calling, please?
Yes, this is John Harrison.
Okay, Mr. Harrison. I'll tell him you called again.
All right. Goodbye.
All right.
That letter ready, Paula?
Not yet. I was on the phone.
Well, it'll have to keep. Look, it's almost 5. I wanted to be out of here 10 minutes ago. Oh, Paula, will you look through here and find those orders I talked about? It'll only take a few minutes. I'll need them first thing in the morning. See you then.
Yes, sir. I didn't want to be 10 minutes late either. Oh, type a letter, Paula. Look through the folder, Paula. Take dictation. Talk to Mr. Harrison. Do it all in 10 minutes.
Hi, Paula.
Oh, hang on a minute.
Everybody's waiting down in the car.
Oh. Everything that's gone on today, I forgot I drove. Well, just go downstairs and tell him I'm going to be late.
Okay.
Anger, another ingredient in Paula's state of mind, at least for a few seconds. Anger that can influence the way she acts, in the office or on the road. Emotions aren't always negative, of course.
You about ready? We're supposed to pick up Bob and Jill in a half an hour.
Okay, I'm hurrying. I'll be there in a minute. Hey, how did Bob manage to get 4 tickets anyway?
Well, I don't know how he managed it. I'm just glad he did.
The mail just came.
Is my letter there? It's here.
Finally. Well, hurry up, open it.
I wonder if it's good or bad news.
If you're not going to open it, I will.
No, I'll open it. It's just that this is the most important piece of mail I've ever received.
Now you're making too much out of it. Come on, open it.
Dear James, we received your application of blah, 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 and we have accepted your...
Tension
I'm in!
and elation. The range of emotions is vast, and even positive emotions can affect your behavior.
Bob hears about this.
Oh, that'll really blow his mind. Let's go over and pick him up and you can tell him then.
Great.
He'll be on the road soon. You've seen how the mind can affect the way we perform in several situations. But good driving performance is a necessity. To drive safely, one must be able to control his car and his feelings too. Just consider the effect emotions can have on driving. Can emotions cloud your vision or interfere with your decisions? And what about the other guy? How can his emotions affect you? What can any of us do to control our emotions? These are difficult questions to answer because each of us is unique. The effect of emotions varies from person to person and can vary from day to day, even for one person. One thing is certain. Every one of us must recognize that his state of mind can affect his driving. And it's up to you as an individual to make sure that your state of mind affects your driving in a positive way.
Right. And it's one of the best statements I've heard in a long time. Our emotions, remember, may be a temporary thing, and we will all have different emotions at different times. But the main thing is that we want you to be aware of them and be aware that they will affect your driving ability, and your emotions may take away your attention to the actual driving task itself. So this is what we want you to be very aware of. And of course, when you're young and a lot of good things are happening in your life, then be aware that these emotions will affect your driving task. Now, we've talked about personalities, and we've also talked about emotions, and your activity is related to driving personalities. Howard, you want to tell us about it?
Okay. What we'd like you to do is to, first of all, look in your syllabus in this particular lesson, and we're going to ask you to choose a busy intersection near your home in which to do this activity. We want you to sit at the corner for 15 minutes and observe as many driving personalities as possible. Then we want you to keep track, for example, on a chart of this particular kind, under the kind of personality as well as the number of drivers that exhibit these personalities. And then what we want you to do is we want you to write a summary of your observations, and we want you to include some examples. I mean, if a person is nervous, are they jumping around? And again, this will be included in your observations and, of course, in your final example. So this is really an important activity, and it really ties in with the film that we saw. Again, we want to emphasize that one particular thing, that is that we don't want our emotions to interfere with our driving task. If we can't get anything else through in this lesson, this is the one thing we really want to emphasize. Don't let your emotions jump in and take over.
Okay, I have a question for you, Howard. How will I be able to tell in my activity the difference between a show-off and a road hog?
Well, it's not really that difficult. The show-off, for example, may be the type of person who wants to show off his new car. He's going to do everything he can to demonstrate it. He'll be honking the horn and waving at people and maybe shouting out at his friends. On the other hand, the road hog will grab away space from another driver, and maybe his car could be 15 years old. So really what we're doing is we're probably exhibiting the personality, or the emotion that is exhibited would be the type that would be related not necessarily to the vehicle but also to the driver. So
yeah, these are personalities that we want you to look for.
Right.
And again, you can observe them, especially with body language of the driver.
Right. We want you, of course, to emphasize the good driver. Well, that about concludes this lesson, and we'll be looking forward to seeing you on our next lesson.
Goodbye.
Bye.